Hey, everybody, welcome back to Spiders Sound Off. This is Tom,
And this is Porter.
and we are back in our Henrico Studios for our first midweek or late week podcast. We're looking to put out during the season when we can, when there are good games during the week, put out a second podcast. And it's our second video podcast ever. And I think we liked what we saw with kind of the YouTube response, so we're trying it again. Porter just came back from Williamsburg.
I did.
Took a little trip.
Made the trip down to Williamsburg to watch the ladies play William and Mary. And it was a really good trip, a really good result for the ladies. Yeah, where do you want me to start?
Well, let's start with your experience of this Kaplan Arena. I've only been there it was like a choir concert when my daughter went to William and Mary. I did see a game there when we were in college. I actually saw us go to we went there for whatever reason. I think one of my old friends, John Simpkins, had a friend at William and Mary.
Simmy.
Or maybe Adam Wenslick had a friend at William and Mary. Maybe they both did, but I think we all went there and saw a game. But that's all I remember. But what was your experience at Kaplan? What was it like seeing a game there?
It was actually pretty cool. I mean, the arena was nice. I wouldn't put it quite to the level of the Robbins Center from a layout perspective. The layout was a little wonky, in my opinion. You came in via one side, and then to get to the other side, I had to go back through security, kind of in a second step. But if you actually went into where the basketball is played, you could walk across the concourse until to get to the other side. So that was a little bit unusual, but they had plenty of seating. But here's the cool thing: they actually had a full service food set up. Had a lot of options to choose from. They had craft beer at the ladies' game. They had the I think you said it was the Williamsburg Beer Company.
Virginia
Beer Company, gorgeous IPA was what they were serving, which I did not have, but I've had in the past, and it's a lovely beer. That was great. Before I went to the game, I actually had dinner at a place recommended by somebody from down there called Sal's by Victor. I had the homemade lobster ravioli, which, by the way, is almost worth a trip to Williamsburg for. It was fantastic.
because all that fresh lobster that comes right off the
I don't know where they got their lobster,
right off the coastal town of Williamsburg.
But it was worth eating, and let me tell you, man, it was that got me in the right frame of mind to watch some great Spider basketball. I got there early. It was a nice. They honored the military. They had the color guard out. They had an a cappella group at William and Mary singing the national anthem. It was a really nice setup and a nice experience, and sat behind the women's bench, so I was able to kind of watch the coaches in action. Really impressed by Coach Brittany. She's really observant during the games. I thought she was really good at guiding, what was being run against us, where players should be. That was fantastic. Yeah, you want to talk about the game for a sec?
Yeah, let's definitely do that. So I listened to the game, heard the radio broadcast. Kind of our men's communications contact, Jason Vita, was on the color commentary, and I was impressed. So he's certainly done that before. Maybe pre-U of R. Maybe he did that in college. I'm not sure.
I think he's a William and Mary grad. I think he mentioned he might.
But he was the team was really good. I enjoyed it. I've listened to us on the radio a lot, in particular the men's team over the years, and my wife doesn't really like it when we're driving somewhere and I'm listening to sports radio, listening to broadcasts, but I love kind of the imagination side of kind of picturing what's going on, and I think the team helped me out there. So shout out to Jason on the color commentary.
Awesome.
Now, can we talk about how good Maggie Doogan is right now? I mean, 3 games in. I mentioned it before the podcast. So last year, I mean, she was Player of the Year. I mean, she was awesome last year. If you look at her numbers, A10 Player of the Year, she averaged 17 points, a little over 7 rebounds, a little under 4 assists a game. Obviously, we went to the NCAA tournament, won a game, won an accomplished season. Well, 3 games in, she's averaging 25 points, 10.7 rebounds, so averaging a double-double, and averaging over 6 assists per game. And again, we played Texas, so we played one of the best teams in the country during those 3 games, so it's not a bad 3-game stretch to think about, but wow, she's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, whenever the team hits a lull and they need a little pick-me-up, Maggie's there to pick them up, and it's just I know how nice it's got to be for Coach Rousseau to have that on the roster where, you've got somebody who can create either for themselves or for others whenever the need comes up. Maggie's special. I keep telling folks, if you haven't gotten out to the Robin Center to see her play, do it. You'll regret not seeing this lady in action. She's fantastic.
Now, Newell was still out, correct?
Newell's still out.
Any information on how the concussion and nose are coming along?
I don't. She was not wearing a mask during warmups, and it's the concussion that they're more worried about than the broken nose. So they just got to go through the protocols and make sure she's completely good to get back on the court. I mean, Newell to me looks like this year our best on-ball defender. So getting her back will be absolutely critical, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially, I mean, we'll talk later about the Columbia game coming up this weekend.
Yeah,
but, it'd be great if we get her there. Now, this was a unique game for us so far, and it was good to kind of learn through this, is that both of our fives are, what we think are going to be the two with the main rotation there, T.R. Simon and Sam Dewey, both got in foul trouble.
Yeah.
So we had to play really small. I don't think that was the intended plan, to play small, and our freshmen got even more minutes. But that's the first time we've had kind of no bigs available at some point, because they both had 2 or 3 fouls early.
I mean, we got to see a lot of, I think your shout out from one of the first podcasts, Shanika Campbell, last night. She played 9 minutes. She had 7 points in 9 minutes. I'm starting to become the believer that you were from the first moment. Like, she's going to be a good player for us. She's big, she's tall, she's physical, and she's talented with the ball. So, like, I think she's going to be a good player. You saw a lot of Ava Persichetti. She was in the starting lineup last night, which was great to see. I mean, she's just very confident, and she doesn't look like a freshman out there. We're still a work in progress. I mean, this team is not perfect. This team is not ready yet to be an NCAA tournament team, but I think by the end of the season, we'll have that readiness.
Rain Wright played a lot of minutes. She had over 20 minutes.
Yeah, she played good defense too. I mean, I thought Rain was so they had a girl on their team, number 1. I can't remember her name, but like, we could not stop her from hitting the 3, and people were not kind of.
That was Geddes. Yeah, she's their best player.
Yeah, we couldn't close out on her fast enough, and I think the second half I saw a lot of Rain Wright on her, so that shows you the coach's confidence in her.
With the glowing shoes, right? She still has the.
Dude, I like those shoes, man. I'm telling you, like, when she scores her first 20-point game, which I think will come maybe even this year, I'm going to have her sign one of those shoes, and we're going to put it here in the center of the podcast for everybody to see, because she's doing what she's doing in those shoes. She needs to keep doing. So.
And congrats to her. I mean, she's played in all 3 games, but I think last night was her first points.
9 points, 4 rebounds
9 points, so got her first
and
basket.
She was credited with 1 steal. I think she had more than 1. I thought I saw 2 steals out of her. But she's next year's Newell for me. I think she's going to take a huge step forward between her freshman and sophomore year. She's already good, but I think she'll take a big step forward, because it's just about confidence with her. Peyton Richard got 14 minutes. That was good to see. We got to play the bench a lot just to see some depth in action. Of course, you still have Maggie going for 36 minutes and Rachel going for 34.
Rachel hit some threes. That was good to see.
She did, yeah. And she actually, it started she worked inside out. She actually was able to get into the lane and get some buckets closer to the rim. And then, as she started driving more, it freed her up from three-point land more, because the William & Mary defense, which seemed to overcorrect for 3-pointers in the first half, had to start falling back because we were just lighting them up in the lane. But William & Mary, they were a spirited team. I thought they played pretty well, and I wouldn't put it past them to win, some games in the CAA this year. They're going to be a tough out for some people.
So, let's talk about the other William & Mary team. So this was William & Mary week for the Spiders. The men's had a home game against William & Mary on Tuesday. We were both there, got to enjoy that game. It was a close one, a lot closer than we predicted, 90-86 final score. Kind of what are your initial thoughts about kind of how that game went and kind of how we pulled that one out?
First and foremost, the lady who sang the national anthem really just belted that out. I give her props, because that was a great rendition of it. I think, I mean, William Mary's a tough team. They got a good coach. They play a very challenging style. I mean, they were very fast. They pressed the entire game. The press is ferocious. We got a chance to interview the coaches after the game and the press conference there, and we asked the coach about the press, and he talked about, that's what they do, and it for them, they like to at least get one 10-second backcourt violation per game, and he said Richmond didn't have one, so he was actually complimentary of us, even though that did create turnovers.
We came close a couple times.
We did
Timeouts.
Yeah,
to
we used a couple
avoid
timeouts
that.
to prevent it. But like he was complimentary. He's a Princeton grad, played there 4 years behind Mooney, and is a good friend of Chris, and called him his brother, and talked about Mooney being his mentor in the press conference. So they're very close. I think that closeness probably does not bode well for that matchup to be played every year, because I don't think they like playing each other.
Yeah, it was interesting. We've talked about it in an earlier podcast about Mooney having kind of his 3 former players who are now coaches. And Mooney has said, and we've heard him a couple times when asked, like, hey, are you going to play those guys? He's like, nope, I'm not scheduling that at all. And we heard pretty much the same thing about William and Mary because of Coach Earl being a close friend of Chris. And hearing him talk about it, because that question was asked, is he going to continue the series, made me appreciate better his answer about not wanting to play his former players. Like, you could tell by his speech, by the look in his face, like, these are, when he has a close friend, someone that he really respects, someone that he cares for on the other side, it's just not fun to play them.
Yeah.
And so while there's other teams in Virginia he wants to play, and there was a bit of a complaint, like he wished there was like he's lived in or seen kind of growing up in Philadelphia, that there was more of a like, hey, all the state teams play each other and rotate. He wished there was a more formal process for that. But anyway, I can understand just hearing him, kind of the guy he is like, I don't want to play my good friend. It's just not fun. I don't like doing that. And so if there are other options, like, why not?
Yeah.
Schedule other options. I will say, kind of a side note, I can understand why UConn has done so well, because nobody seems to like Dan Hurley. And so when you got a coach like that who's ruthless,
we like you, Dan, if you want to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll be
credit to Dan Hurley, because I don't think anyone really likes him, and so he'll play anybody and whoop anybody, and he's shown that he can do that. Well, let's talk about the game some.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a close one. What interesting to me when we looked at the stats after the game, like, I think when we were watching it, our eye test is like, we want more Jalen Robinson. We want more Daughtry.
Yeah.
But when you look at the stats, you kind of see like AP, he didn't shoot well, went 0 for 4, but his plus minus is 11.
Yeah.
And he did have 7 rebounds. So it's like, coach knows, like, when he's a good example of a guy who's maybe like the glue guy who knows where he's supposed to be.
Are you calling Rumaglu the glue guy?
I may be Rumaglu. It's better than a pasta 04.
Yeah.
But he's a guy
0-4-4.
right. He's a guy that plays really hard. He can rebound. He knows where he's supposed to be. He can help run the offense if it's not being run the way Mooney wants it. And Tanner's another guy. He did score. He had a pretty good game offensive wise, but he had a +8, even though his box score doesn't ring out across the board.
I did have 8 points, 8 rebounds.
Yeah, and in contrast, you look at Jalen, who's played 7 minutes and had a -9. So it's a bit of like, he's young, he's experienced. He had a great dunk. Like, he looks like he has so much potential, and he'll continue to get minutes. But when you look at like the result of the game, I can understand why Tanner and AP are getting a lot of time, because coach trusts them, and they live up to his trust, because they know what they're doing, and they're not turning the ball over a lot. And turnovers can be a problem with younger players.
Walls' best game on the offensive glass. He was really active. I thought he played aggressive, 9 points, 9 rebounds in 21 minutes. Just really, really excited to see him have that game.
Yeah, and to Walls' credit, like, Beagle was great too.
Mm-hmm.
Their rotation is really well. And what I loved is there were times where like Beagle got fouled, and Walls is standing up and hooting and hollering.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think you can tell that there's that connection between the two of them. They kind of obviously compete in practice. We saw some of that preseason, but they root for each other. And if they can both play 20 minutes a game and kind of really be competitive at that 5 spot, we got good things.
I'll tell you this: if our the 5 position, which is we'll call it Walls and Beagle, average 19 points, 19 rebounds, and 3 assists a game for the whole season, we're going to make the NCAA tournament, because those guys were very, very effective and very, very efficient in the game against William and Mary.
one thing, and this is obviously there's still a lot of data and a lot of games to happen, but it was a tight game, and you did see minutes get higher for kind of a core group. Still no one close to 30, over 30, but Will Johnson was at 29, so almost 30 minutes a game. And at the end, you saw he had kind of the ball handlers out there. There was Tyne, Johnson, and then becoming one of our favorites, Aiden Argerbright. We're kind of all out there together when the game got tight. So I do think to kind of, I guess the hypothesis I've been pushing is that it's inevitable that we're going to end up with the 5 to 8. And that doesn't mean he doesn't play 11, but I think we're going to have 5 guys who are 25 minutes plus, and then he'll have kind of the deep bench to help when either someone has an off night or kind of matchups, or just for let our team play ferocious, let those guys do 25 minutes of all out.
Yeah,
and have guys come in off the bench. But it was, it was a fun game to watch. I think tighter than we'd like. It seemed like we had the lead more than they did, but never could kind of grow it enough to feel comfortable.
They were just too. They're going to win some games this year. They're better than I expected, and better than I realized. Yeah, I mean, the team. It's funny because Coach Roussel and Rachel, when she came on the show, talked about stacking practices. Stacking practices is how you get better as a player, and it's how you get better as a team. In the case of the men's team, I'm going to call it stacking wins. We know we have an easy schedule to start the year, but that doesn't mean you're going to win every game. And so, it's kind of like we talked about momentum. Like, if we can continue to stack wins against teams we should beat, and we've got 2 more coming up, VMI and Gardner Webb, which we should beat. Then all of a sudden you start to believe. And if you carry that power and belief into some tougher games, which are coming for us as well, maybe you can keep the run going past, the easy teams on the schedule. So I think Mooney is doing a really good job of wiping clear the bad memories of last year. And, he's doing it by stacking wins early in the season. And I mean, the rotation is working. Personally, I want to see more Jaden Daughtry. I think, he's one of our best players. 11 minutes was a little light for me on that front. But that's the only real nitpick I had about the rotation. I really want to see more of them. But what Coach is doing is working. So
yeah, and I do think, if we think of the 20 years of Coach Mooney, having less than 10 turnovers per game has been kind of part of the formula for success. And this team so far is not doing that. And you can see that he gets frustrated where there's kind of sloppy turnovers or just maybe good defense by the other team. But
when have we ever been plus 20 on rebounding a team?
Yeah.
Plus 17 or whatever.
So yeah, we had 53 rebounds, the most ever under Coach Mooney.
Wow.
The most since 2003. I think those were the Wright days. Also, it said that we had the most free throws ever.
There was a lot of free throws. It was a long game.
Yes, yes.
After the press conference, I heard a little bit of an earful from the wife about making her wait for us to finish the press conference, because that was a long game.
Yeah. It was maybe over refereed, but maybe we've also heard that's kind of early season.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hopefully that changes. Now, a couple things also I want to bring up. How do we try to add value as a podcast? I decided, and it's really not that exciting, but I decided I'm going to try to keep track of the student. The student attendance,
the student counter.
Okay, and I haven't really brought it up the other
but you have podcast. Counted. I can attest that you've actually been.
Yes, and I'll admit it's easier when there's not a lot of students. So I got to figure out what that place looks like, and maybe I get some help from the athletic department of what that fills when we get to VCU and we know it'll be packed. Okay, when we played Southern Virginia, there were 55 students.
Well, first set up when you're taking the count.
Okay, I'm trying to do it about the 10-minute mark in the first half, so let people come. We know
because if you did it at the 0-minute mark when the game just starts, it wouldn't be 55.
No, that's right.
They're slow to arrive.
Yes, that's right. And sometimes U of R does things. I don't think they've done it yet, but I know there are times where they'll have free pizza, and they'll do some things where they're encouraging you to come, but it doesn't mean you're in your seat.
And by the way, for the listener, you're counting the student section behind the basket, not the full students in the arena. So there could be students sitting
that's right.
We're counting the ones behind the basket.
Perfect example. So Southern Virginia, there were 55. We did see later on that there were some of the players from the women's team were there.
Sitting in a different
section. I'm not including them. I'm also not including cheerleaders. I'm not including the dancers. I'm not including the players.
Are you counting the band?
I'm not including the band, but I don't know. I don't think they're all students either. Okay, so 55 at Southern Virginia. There were 75 at ECU. I had to count twice. William and Mary, there was 100, and then I saw more people come in. So it was 120 was my final count. So it's growing.
The William and Mary game, I give credit to those first 4 rows. I don't know if that was a fraternity or just a small group of people, but they all came together, and those first 4 rows were lively. So that's what we need more of. So whoever's in those first 4 rows, we're giving you a shout out. Nice work.
Yeah, and I would say we got a comment from someone on the chat room too. There might have been 120. And that might have been 118 men. So again, I think some fraternities did come out, which is great. I think Porter and I remember the days when the fraternities would have to send their pledges early to kind of hold seats because it would always sell out. But we got VCU twice. We know those games will be packed. And again, student has grown, and we're seeing games where we're winning. So winning always helps on that. The other point I want to make. We did talk on a prior podcast about how happy we were that Falcon Smash was at the Robins Center. Would like to, we're going to take credit for the fact that during a little after halftime at the William and Mary game, they ran out of Falcon Smash. So I'm sure that has to do with that beer being great, but I think we'll take credit. Now we may take credit for low sales on the barbecue sandwich. I don't have the stats on that, but Falcon Smash did run out. I'm hoping they got the next game is middle of next week, so I'm guessing they'll have another shipment in from the distributor. So expect lots of Falcon Smash available.
You're gonna have to
VMI
test that
game.
Barbecue sandwich again to see if they heard you and they made it a little bit less soupy.
So that's right. I definitely
give them a chance to improve. Give them a chance.
Okay, you ready to talk about the upcoming game this Saturday?
Yeah. So, the first and foremost, let's talk Columbia, but I'm gonna mention you folks, we've got a really tough schedule on the ladies side coming up, and they've got a home game coming up against Temple next Tuesday. Make sure you guys come out to the Robins Center. Temple beat George Mason, who's a top 50 team in their first game. They're going to be a really tough out for us. So, if you can come out to support the ladies, I promise you won't be sorry you do. Temple is a very good team. We need you. But even before Temple, we have an even better team that we've got to play.
Yeah, that's right. We got Columbia at Columbia.
Number 34 in the nation right now.
That's Saturday, 7 p.m. I think it's an ESPN Plus game. So you can shut down your Flow Sports account if you purchase it for the William and Mary game. But it's Columbia, and Riley Weiss is their superstar.
Yeah, she's top 50 player in America. She's on the preseason watch lists. And back in episode 3, which one did we do? The ladies practice. They all blended. Maybe it was 6. No, it was 6. Episode 6. I talked about Persa Shetty as a freshman reminded me of Riley Weiss. Riley Weiss, the best way to describe it is she's just a baller. I mean, she looks like she's having fun when she plays basketball. She's unflappable. She sees the court differently than a lot of players. She's a great passer. She's a great shooter. She's a very tough matchup. I think she's 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, 5'10's right.
Yeah, and they've got another good player too, who's been really lighting it up. We'll talk about her in a second as well. But Riley Weiss is only a junior, and she's legit. But before we get to Riley Weiss, let's talk about Megan Griffith. We believe that we have the best mid-major coach in America in Aaron Roussel, and we're very, very lucky to have him. And as Spider community, you guys need to know how lucky we are to have him. So come out and support the team. But Columbia has a fantastic coach too, Megan Griffith. She has really built a powerful program at Columbia. She's been the Ivy Coach of the Year the last 3 years, 22, 23, 23, 24, and 24, 25. She is always a National Coach of the Year finalist award in a person. She's made 2 back-to-back at-large bids for Columbia out of the Ivy, so 2 back-to-back at-large bids. And this team is no different than any team she's had recently. It's a very good team. Like I said, number 34 in America. We're currently number 28. So this is a team that's going to be a serious challenge on the road. We beat them at the Henrico Sports Center last year. I was at that game. It's going to take everything we have to do that again, I would say.
Yeah, and just a kind of a little more backup. So Columbia is 2-0. They beat Butler in overtime, and they beat Ohio. If I look at just their stats, so in 2 games, they've only played 2 games so far. They have 23 steals, so that tells you something about their defense. They also have 40 turnovers. So I think if we tend to turn the ball over, I think so far in 3 games, but even last year, I think more than coach would like. Part of that is the way we, playing fast pace, but I think we've been a little turnover prone, but this is a team that's even more turnover prone. So having Newell would be great, but if not, we still we need to turn them over because I mean, they're turning it over 20 a game and they won twice.
Right.
So they certainly have that as a weakness. And so that's something we could do. Yeah, Perry Page is their other
19
other
points,
player.
10 rebounds, and against Butler. When they played Ohio, they were clearly in control because they played 15 players. They only had to play Weiss 25 minutes and Perry Page 24 minutes. Weiss went for 18 and 25. Perry Page went for 13 and 9 rebounds in 24 minutes. And this is a revenge matchup since we beat them last year. They give us at home. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I will say kind of where we have advantages. So Perry Page is kind of their 9.5 rebounds inside presence. She's 5'11".
Yeah.
So,
but I think she's a guard. She's kind of like a Maggie or a Rachel. Right?
Yeah, but I was gonna say like if Maggie is guarding her, like that's something I like.
Yeah.
Maggie's got a little height and a lot of it. And, Perry Page is a senior, so she's got a lot of experience. She knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I noticed looking at their sets too, they haven't yet, and I think Riley's been okay, but the team is shooting 28% from three. They shoot a lot of threes, so they haven't really hit it yet. So that's I get a little worried. Like, are they coming around? Do they come around with us and shoot 40% from three? So they like the three, so we got to guard that. Hope we get a lot of turnovers and can make them kind of chase us versus the other way around.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if we win this game at Columbia without Newell. And if Newell doesn't play, I mean, I think that, they have a slight advantage. If Newell plays, I'd pick us. I don't know if I can pick us without Newell because we need that tenacious on-ball defender against a team like this. But it'll be a really, really good game. That's for certain.
Yeah, it's interesting. You think of if you're playing University of Richmond, you go in there and saying like, well, Maggie Doogan's a problem. Like with a scout. And your practice is about like, what do you do? And not that you're going to shut down Maggie, but you think that's what your approach is. And Maggie through 3 games has shown that doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
And so you can look at it and say like, well, Riley Weiss is our superstar. Like we know the scout and the practice is going to be like, how do we slow her down? How do we get in her face? But sometimes that doesn't matter. She's a great player.
Players find a way.
And so I do like, Maggie is on another level right now. And so now Riley is averaging over 20 a game as well. So she's kind of upped her production. But I don't look at it and say like we have to have Newell. Like I think if Rachel's coming off her first kind of hot game, with Maggie just right now being on fire and kind of unstoppable. I assume we're still favored in this game. I haven't seen the spread, but I assume we're favored.
I don't know if we'll be favored, actually. It might be a 1-point spread in favor of Columbia by the time this comes out. We'll see. It'll be very, very interesting.
So, okay, Newell doesn't play. What's your prediction?
I think it's going to be 67-66 Columbia.
Okay, 67-66.
And I don't want that to be right, trust me, but like Columbia I'm just trying to tell the listener how good of the team Columbia is.
Yeah, I think what you're missing out then is like what that scoring is going to look like. I think we're going to get a lot more points. I don't think this is that like I see 67-66 and say that's a defensive battle. We could still lose, but I don't think we're losing in a defensive battle. I think it'd be a shootout. But I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 82-70 is going to be my prediction.
You're going a 12-point win at Columbia. I do that. I love your optimism.
I think this
but you do have us at 28-3 for the season, so
I do. That's right.
You had to go with a win there. I remember I said we were going to lose 5. I had Columbia as one of the 5. So
we will see again. That's Saturday night at 7 p.m. ESPN Plus. I'm sure it's going to be on the. Well, I'm not so sure, but maybe it's on the radio as well. Check that out. But ESPN Plus will be a fun watch on Saturday.
It's going to be a heck of a game. I can't wait.
Anything else you want to chat about today, Porter? Any other final Williamsburg thoughts from the coastal town of Williamsburg?
It's only an hour away. We had a good crowd down there. There were at least 100 Spider fans supporting the ladies. Most of us were wearing red, so really love to see that, by the way. That was fantastic.
Well, that's great. Well, we will be previewing next week's games, I think, when we release our next podcast on Monday, so you'll learn more about Temple and VMI. At that point in time, no men's game this weekend, so this is all about Columbia. So if you haven't been to the Robins Center, as Porter said, plan to be there for the Temple game, but also, prep by watching us on ESPN Plus Saturday at 7 p.m.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, well, until next time, this is Tom.
And this is Porter.
And this is Spider sounding off.
See ya.